Hey everyone, Lauren from A Girl and Her Wool here. Welcome back to my channel. Here on my channel I talk about all things behind the scenes of running a hand-dyed yarn shop and other crafty things. And today I'm going to be doing a little WIPs recap. So it has been a very long time since I have talked about anything that I've been working on, and that's because I haven't really been working on so much. And so I'm viewing today as a recap and restart, refresh, reset, all of the words all about my projects. So let's get into it. So if you missed it, I recently did a cleaning out of my little WIP cabinet that I have in our living room, and got everything all organized and saw what I have. And so I figured I would take all of those out and kind of just see where we're at with everything. And then I hope to do recaps like this here on my channel, maybe every other week as I have things to say. We'll kind of see. But I'm hoping to do more crafting over, the next amount of time, the upcoming months, and see where we get. We're gonna kind of soon be leaving summer. Maybe some of you are sad to hear that. I certainly am not. But we'll be getting into that chillier weather hopefully in the next couple months, and we want to have new things to wear. So let me get started with some of the things that have been hanging around for quite a while, and then I'll talk through a little bit more of what I've actually been working on. So the first project that I have is my All of the Lights cardigan. I don't know where I was at the last time I showed this to you all, and honestly it was probably around the same spot. But I am a good way down the body. I am not a very tall person, and so I have probably like maybe 6 more inches or so of the body before I do the sleeves. So definitely a good one to pick up. This is my hand-dyed yarn. This is my colorway Woodland on my DK base. So a nice warm sweater that will be great to wear in the cooler months, and it overall gives kind of this like taupey gray feel, but it's actually made up of all of the colors on the rainbow. There's no gray or brown in here. It's just red and yellow and greens and blues and gold and all that, and it kind of just, when you take a step back, blends together really nicely, which will be really great for wearing this basically with anything underneath. So this is a Hohi Locatelli pattern, again, all the lights. It is one where you have to pay attention. It's all cable and lace charts, and all the charts have different numbers of rows and a repeat, so a lot of tracking, but my notes were still in the project bag with it, so I will be in a good place to pick this back up. I dyed this on some of my larger skeins, so I would have to look back at my notes or remember how large the skeins were, but I'm just alternating between 2 balls of yarn, which is nice. It'll be less ends to weave in. Definitely a call for any size skeins, and yeah, just working my way through that sweater. So next up is another sweater that I had on the needles as well, or I have on the needles as well, and that is the pink Fizz sweater by Andrea Mowry. This appears to not be on a needle anymore. I must have needed it for something else, but I have scrap yarn in there to hold all the stitches together. So gonna have to figure out what needle I was using for this one. But it's nice because I can kind of show it a little bit better without it on the needle. So kind of the opposite, I'm only a few inches to this. This is a bottom-up sweater, really pretty pattern. It's basically stockinette in the middle, and then the edges have these lace patterns, panels, kind of on the front and on the back. There's a split hem. I am doing this on my sport weight, which is, if you're not familiar, in between a DK and fingering. So it's thicker than fingering, but not quite as heavy as DK, which is really nice because it'll have some warmth to it, but like that other sweater I was just showing is like very chunky and warm. This one won't be as much. and it's my Canopy colorway. Such a good color. This sweater will be great to just throw on over leggings and just chill in. I'm very excited to have this one done. I think this will be one that I will live in, and I just have to finish it. So that's where I'm at with this one. This one is a bit easier to follow. It's just one chart, I believe, from what I recall. It's been a few months since I worked on it, and then of course you kind of zoom in the middle of the charts, but you can kind of see some of the lace and cable pattern kind of going up there. So excited to get this one honestly back on a needle and working on it. So that is sweater number 2. Again, I dyed this up on 2 balls of yarn. There is a needle in here, but I think I used this probably for the cuff, and then when I went to the body and went, gosh, it's been so long since I knit. So when you do a cuff, are you in a smaller needle or a bigger needle? I think a smaller needle because the cuff is stretchier. So I went up to another size. I think that's right. I think because that's probably like my 1 or 1.5, and I probably did this on like a 2 or a 3. So anyway, I dyed again this up on 2 skeins of yarn that I am just alternating. I feel like I did like 200 gram skeins or 250, maybe they were 300, but I don't think this one needed as much yarn as the other. I think the other one was 2 300 gram skeins, and this might have been 2 200 gram skeins. But anyway, working on that, or not working on that, should be working on that. Okay, this next one was a more recent cast on, which is kind of funny, but okay, so this is a pair of stockinette socks. I'll tell you why it's funny in a minute, but a pair of stockinette socks that I am working on 2 at a time, magic loop. I am using my colorway 4th and Goal on the BFL Sock base. So BFL Sock is a base that is sturdier than my regular sock yarn. How long has he been up there? BFL Sock is a sturdier sock yarn. I get a question a lot about the different of what BFL means. It stands for Blue-Faced Leicester, which is just a breed of sheep, compared to Merino, which is also a breed of sheep. This is also a high twist base, so between the BFL and the high twist, it's just a much sturdier yarn that will last longer. And 4th and Goal is just a pretty kind of rusty brown navy color. Honestly, it's really great for fall. It was originally developed part of the Pigskin Party, a football themed colorway that has become a favorite in the shop. And now Nacho has joined the show. So these are just a vanilla pair of socks. The reason why I say that that's kind of funny is I cast these on because I needed a movie theater project. We go to the movies quite a bit. We have Regal Unlimited, and so we try to go and see basically everything that comes out. And I like to bring knitting with me, and I was working on those 2 sweaters that are not vanilla. I basically do either, you know, stockinette or garter stitch, whatever. It's just easy knits or knits and purls that I can do in the dark. And so I cast these on because I needed a new project like that. And funnily enough, the last project I'm going to show you has become my movie theater knitting. And so now seeing this, I'm wondering if I should just work on these quickly, get them wrapped up, or just kind of hold on to them and have them available whenever I next need them. So yeah, so that's that pair of socks that I brought to one movie, got through that much. I think I did the toe even while I was at the movie. Actually, I cast these on my birthday. These were a birthday pair. So on my birthday, we went and had a little fun adventure. This was back in May, and we went to the movies. We saw the Doctor Strange movie that day because we both took off from work. It was a Wednesday or something, and the Marvel movies are always so crowded, and so we went. It was a good opportunity for us to go see it. It was the middle of the day, in the middle of the week on a work day. It wasn't a holiday, so we went to the empty movie theater and saw that, and then we went and played at Top Golf or vice versa. Maybe we went to Topgolf first and then we went there. But in any case, that was kind of like my birthday cast on, and I have not worked on them since. So really quick, while he's still on my lap before I go and grab the last project, I wanted to just mention what I have been working on for most of my time. So over the past few months, I did work on the March into Spring socks. So I knit 3 pairs of socks using the March into Spring box. So that was a lot of fun. And you can check out those vlogs if you want to see more of what I worked on. Those are probably the only things I've really finished. Otherwise, a lot of my time has been going to knitting the swatches for all of my shop updates. They probably look so small, and they really are. They don't take that much time, but they have been taking all of the time that I have available to knit. And so pretty much that's what I work on every month, is just my swatches, which is kind of sad, but kind of is what it is. And so you'll kind of see over the next few months how much I really get done with knitting, but the hope is that as colors come back around as colors of the month, I won't have to redo the swatches. It's just kind of like the backlog of it because I wasn't doing them before. So there's just a lot of them every single shop update, which, by the way, there is a shop update this Saturday at 10 a.m. Eastern time. It's all colors inspired by our fun trip to the Pacific Northwest last month, and I'm really excited about it. You'll get to hear more on Friday here on YouTube. So if you haven't already, subscribe so you don't miss that or any other video. So if you've been following around for quite a while, you may or may not know that I actually am working on a project using my Mystery Yarn Club yarn. So actually you can kind of see a sneak peek of the contrast color from this past month up there. But I, last year for 2021, I didn't use any of the mystery yarn, and my mom knit me a rabbit throw out of it. And it's been really great to have those to look at, because honestly, I normally dye up the yarn and just ship them out, and they're kind of like out of my life. I spend like 3 days with the color, and then I never see it again other than through Instagram photos. And so I thought it'd be fun this year to kind of work on them, and I was thinking about the right way to do a project. And earlier this year I started a blanket, but I didn't want to do something blocked like the Radvan throw was. Like, I didn't want a second version of that blanket. I wanted to do something a little bit different, but I also, I don't know, I went back and forth. Like, I wanted something that would be easy to work on, that but was different. And I don't know, I kind of went back and forth for a long time if I just wanted to do something like a habitation throw that's striped and I could just kind of work on it, but or did I want something more complicated. I eventually came up with a slip stitch pattern that I came up with myself, and I was working on that for a few months. I did it through February, but I was very behind. Like, I was probably finishing up February in the springtime, quite honestly. And so I'll put up a picture here of what it looked like with that pattern. It was a really pretty slip stitch pattern where I would alternate. I did kind of like a block of white, and then I did the slip stitch pattern with the main color and white, and then kind of halfway up the pattern I switched to the contrast color. So if you don't know my mystery yarn clubs, you can choose to do an optional contrast skein, and I was dyeing up 20 gram minis for myself. So I had a 20 gram mini of the main color and a 20 gram mini of the contrast color, and I would use those, alternate it with white to get the slip stitch pattern. So I would have a white band, kind of the slip stitch pattern with January, a white band, slip stitch pattern with February, and so on. So that way the months were separated but kind of together. So I was working on that for a very long time. I really loved it, but I ended up deciding to rip it out, only for the reason that I was never going to finish the thing, and let alone ever catch up with the yarn club, and I really wanted to do that. So meanwhile, it's August and I'm still working on January now with the new design, but I just started this, so I think that I can make good progress. And honestly, you know, it'll kind of be what it is. I'm not putting pressure on myself. So I ripped that out, and I'll put up a picture of what it looked like again, but right before I ripped it out. And I actually ended up finishing ripping it out like on the airplane going on our trip. The person next to me was probably like, this person's crazy. But anyway, so I will hold it up and show you what I'm doing now, and then I'll kind of talk about the process of it. So you can see it's just like a really fun basic stripe pattern, and it's just garter stitch. So this has become my movie theater knitting because it's just garter stitch back and forth. I've been working on this when I'm reading, if I'm not working on swatches, and I'm really excited about it. I have the cable sweater, I have the sweater that also has a pattern on it, and it's really nice to have a big project that is just garter stitch. Like, this is what I need for how busy I am. Like, this is just what I need. And honestly, as it gets bigger, it'll be nice to have at the movies because, you know, it's always chilly in the movie theater. So when I ripped it out, I can't even show you the full kind of width of it. The plan is to eventually put a border on it if I want to as well. So when I ripped it out, I just ripped back to the first band. So I still plan to do a block of white in between to separate the months out. And so it has a provisional cast on, and it has rows of the undyed yarn. And then you can see here, it's alternating the stripes between white and the January Mystery Yarn Club color. And the way I did it, this is, by the way, inspired by Jana from Purl Together. She does this with her toes of her socks, and I absolutely love the idea. So the stripes get thicker kind of as you go up. So you use more mystery color as you go up, and you use less white as you go up. But then on the flip side, you kind of reverse it going with the contrast color. So I'm doing kind of the mirror image of this with the contrast. So the contrast color is getting thinner and thinner as the white gets bigger and bigger. At this point, I have a couple more rows of white and then one stripe of the dark blue, and then I'll be done with January. My plan is to then do, again, the big block of white in between and then move on to February, and it'll go in the same pattern. So really easy pattern. It's easy enough for me, especially with the contrast, to see kind of how many rows I have to do in the movies. I'm able to figure that out. And otherwise, I'm just knitting back and forth, so I don't have to worry about losing stitches or needles or anything. It's just really easy and exactly. And I wish I had thought of this back in January. I think I would have kept up with it a lot more. But so considering the fact that I started this when I started it on the plane going on our trip, but then that whole trip I worked on the self-striping socks for March into spring, and I did not pick this up again until after that was done, and probably honestly after the next round of swatches were done. So this is probably just like a couple of weeks of work, and I was able to get through pretty much all of January. So I think I theoretically could do a month each month, but we'll kind of see. So those are the WIPs. It's a good variety. I'm excited to get back into those sweaters to, again, kind of like work towards getting caught up on this blanket. I think if I finished it for in December, that would be amazing. But again, there's no pressure. Like, what does it even matter? So that's it. Those are the WIPs. Again, for the most part, I work on swatches, which you always see in the shop update vlogs. And so that is what I work on. Leave me a comment below with what you're working on, or as we kind of start thinking about sweater weather, what are you gonna be working on for the sweater season? I don't know if you have your Rhinebeck sweater planned or other festivals planned. If you want to join my sticker club, you can do so at agirlandherwool.com. And don't forget, there is a shop update this Saturday at 10 a.m. Eastern time with all of the Pacific Northwest colors that I am currently showing you all on Instagram. So again, leave a comment below with what you're working on or some future plans, and I will talk to you guys all soon. Bye.